We're about to start here in 5 minutes. This is our second Facebook Live event coming to you from Washington, D.C. I hope some of you have enjoyed some of the promotional stuff we did on Facebook this week. The Lincoln Memorial advertisement where Abraham Lincoln said, "Let food be thy medicine and your medicine be thy food." I think he said that, right, Magic? I think Abraham Lincoln said, oh no, not Abraham Lincoln, that was Hippocrates. So Hippocrates said that, not Abraham Lincoln, but we put that up just as a little bit of a joke. But anyway, so we're just going to sit here and wait a few minutes to allow everybody to step in and listen. Just go ahead and chime in if you're out there listening and watching. I believe this is delayed a little bit, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Go ahead and let us know you're listening. Just go ahead and type something or send across a little emoji showing that you're on. We got 2 minutes. It's 8:58 here. We're going to start at 9 o'clock. Okay, we got a couple people so far. Hopefully more. Oh, there's a third. Oh, here they come. I think our last Facebook Live event we've had, I think we had 4,000 people actually view that Facebook Live event. Right? 4,000 went through, I think. Yeah. Can you hear us? Any problem hearing us? Hello from Indianapolis. Hello, Michelle. Nice to see you. Just let us know if you can hear us okay. Just go ahead and type something in that you can hear us. Let us know you can hear us. Perfect. Great. Thank you, Tara. All right, it's 8:59. Loud and clear. Good. Thank you, Michelle. I'm getting kind of used to this Facebook Live stuff. You know, I'm used to speaking in front of probably 200 to 300 people at one time, and now I'm just talking into a telephone. So, just getting used to it. So bear with me. All right, well, it's 9 p.m. Why don't we wait just a few minutes here to allow a few more people to come on. Typically at a lecture, I'll wait a good 10 to 15 minutes, but we don't have that kind of time tonight. So just give me a few minutes here before I get going. All right. Any cancer patients out there currently that are listening? Chime in if you're a cancer patient. Nice to know if there's anybody out there that's really going to need to be privy to this information. So feel free to come forward and let me know what you're suffering with, and maybe sometime in this event we can address it. So. All right. All right, well, we're going to get started here. It's a couple minutes after 9 o'clock. So the last Facebook event we did, we had essentially addressed the issue of alkalinity and acidity. Those terms are thrown around constantly without really understanding what does that mean, what are the implications as it relates to human health. And so we went into all that. And so now we're just going to refresh kind of what we went through that first Facebook Live event. You're going to get a crash course in cellular biology and how that relates to human health. So when we're talking about alkalinity and acidity, what are we talking about? We're talking about pH. What's pH? pH is potential hydrogen. And that's the danger in human health when you become acidic. And we're going to go into exactly what that means. But how is it that you heal human disease? Why is the Gerson therapy the most renowned and successful therapy in the history of medicine for successfully reversing advanced terminal and degenerative diseases? Cancer, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, heart disease, you name it, the Gerson therapy has reversed virtually every single degenerative disease. Why? What's the secret behind curing advanced degenerative disease? The answer is really simple. It's so simple a child can understand it. The reason why the Gerson therapy is so successful is because Dr. Max Gerson understood one thing very clearly, that the secret to reversing advanced disease is the production of energy on a cellular level. What does that mean? When you see someone who's sick and dying, what's one of the first things you notice? They're lethargic. Why are they lethargic? Because they've lost the capacity to produce energy on a cellular level. It's that simple. The human body needs massive amounts of energy on a daily basis, not just to survive and function on a daily basis, but to maintain a healthy immune system. And it most certainly needs massive amounts of energy to cure a sick and dying immune system. So how does the body produce energy? In your cells, you have little organelles called mitochondria. Those mitochondria are specifically responsible for creating a molecule called ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. It is the energy molecule that your body produces to maintain all your daily activities and to maintain a healthy immune system. So how do the mitochondria produce ATP? Simple. It needs oxygen and it needs sugar. The body can use fat to create energy, but it really doesn't want to use fat because fat is empty calories that don't contain usually a lot of nutrition, whereas a lot of your fruits and vegetables that contain those natural sugars contain all the nutrients you need to run it through the energy cycles. So the mitochondria inside the cell, they need oxygen, they need sugars, and they need massive amounts of nutrients to run that sugar through the energy cycle. So you've got to understand those three things: oxygen, sugar, and nutrients. So when sugar enters the cells, there's something called the Krebs Cycle. So the sugar enters the Krebs Cycle, and if oxygen is present and all the nutrients needed, you need vitamin C, you need all your B vitamins, magnesium, iron, zinc, potassium. You need all of these nutrients to run sugar through the energy cycles. So if these things are present, if oxygen is present, that one sugar molecule is going to produce 3 molecules of something called nicotinic acid dehydrogenase. And then that nicotinic acid dehydrogenase molecule gets shuttled down a pathway called the electron transport chain. And the final production of the electron transport chain is energy. And that energy can rally a sick and dying immune system, and that is how we are reversing advanced degenerative disease. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, we are completely destroying the body's capacity to produce that energy on a cellular level. And I'm going to explain some of the things that are causing that, and the things that the Gerson therapy is doing to reverse those disastrous trends that we're creating in our own lives. But getting back to the cell. So, in order for the mitochondria to function properly, you've got to create the proper cellular environment. Maintain the proper cellular environment. You have to be able to get nutrients into the cell. You have to be able to get oxygen into the cell. More importantly, you've got to keep sodium out of the cell, and we'll go into that in a bit. And you've got to be able to detoxify the cell through the cell membrane. Now remember, around your cells, you have a cell membrane. What's that cell membrane made up of? It's made up of fats. That cell membrane, it is the gatekeeper. It is what determines what goes into the cell and what comes out of the cell. What can go in, what's not supposed to go in, what can go out, and what's not supposed to go out. That's all determined at the level of the cell membrane. How does the cell membrane determine what it's going to let in and what it's going to let out? It's all based on the electrical charge at the level of the cell membrane. All of that is determined based on the electrical charge. What does that mean? Well, when we're talking about the cell membrane, I said that it's made up of fats. What kind of fats? Whatever fats you're feeding it. If you're feeding it with saturated fats, what are those fats saturated with? They're saturated with hydrogen. So if you're eating meat, cheese, milk, cookies, cake, ice cream, even coconut oil, it's all saturated fats. It's saturated with hydrogen. Remember, we're talking about alkalinity and acidity. Alkalinity is good on the human body. It promotes health. Acidity is bad. It promotes disease. Well, when you're acidic, remember we're talking about pH, potential hydrogen. When you're acidic, you get a buildup of hydrogen in the body, and particularly at the level of the cell membrane. And when that happens, that is disastrous. And here's why. Oxygen has a charge, and that charge has to be compatible with the charge at the level of the cell membrane. Well, when the cell membrane is loaded with hydrogen because of the fats that we have in our diet, as oxygen approaches that cell membrane, it will literally get repelled away. It'll literally get repelled away. So it becomes a matter of biophysics rather than biochemistry. So in order to draw oxygen into the cell, what kind of fats do you think you need in order to draw oxygen into the cell? You need, and you've probably heard the phrase before, essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids are the oils and the fats that we should be getting out of our food. For example, sunflowers, flax oil. Flax oil is primary on the Gerson therapy. We'll explain why in a second here. But today, we're getting these diets really high in saturated fats, and all those fats are going to maintaining the cell membrane because your body's going to use whatever fats you're eating to maintain that cell membrane. And we're not getting enough of the essential fatty acids like in fish, fish oil. I said flax oil, sunflower oil. Safflower oil is actually pretty toxic, so you don't want to eat that. Canola oil is very toxic. It's been known to cause liver cancer and liver degeneration in rats. But your primary oils would be things like flax oil, maybe some sunflower oil, fish oils. Those are the oils that ultimately you want to build your cell membranes with. Why is that? Because those oils have a special double bond structure. They're carbon chains that haven't been saturated with hydrogen. And because they haven't been saturated and stabilized with hydrogen, they have a special electrical charge that literally draws oxygen into the cell membrane. And that is so vital to run the energy cycles, to produce that energy for proper immune system function. So folks, if there's anything that you can do, it's to stop eating so many saturated fats. And they're everywhere. Read your labels. Have you ever read a label and you've seen the word partially hydrogenated oils? What does that mean? Well, these industrial companies, these food companies, they figured out that if you can bubble hydrogen into these oils, you can stabilize them. And if you can stabilize them, you can store them on your shelves for longer periods of time, like forever. So a lot of these foods that we buy in our grocery stores, they're dead. They've been partially hydrogenated with oils, and they are absolutely deadly to human health. Look at peanut butter. Go read a peanut butter label. It's loaded with partially hydrogenated oils. Unless it's an all-natural organic oil, they haven't. And that's where you see the oil float to the top. But those peanut butters where the oil's all mixed in and it's nice and creamy and you don't have to stir the oil in, those are horrible. So that's just one example. But virtually everything, all these processed foods, the cookies, the cakes, the ice creams, all of these things are loaded with hydrogenated oils. So first and foremost, you got to get rid of those. What else is loaded with saturated fat? I've said it already. Milk, meat, cheese, coconut oil. Olive oil is a monounsaturated fat. Peanut oil, sesame oil, avocado oil. These things, especially avocado oil, olive oil, they're fairly good, to use in a salad dressing, but you can't use them that much. You shouldn't be having more than a tablespoon or two a few times a week. They're monounsaturated. All right, coconut oil, saturated fat. Sesame oil, saturated fat. Peanut oil, saturated fat. And we're cooking with these oils. When you cook with oils, they even become more detrimental because they cause a lot of free radical formation in the body and they throw hormones out of control. So, again, getting back to the issue of alkalinity and acidity, acidity by definition is the buildup of hydrogen in the body. And so the proper definition really of acidity is improper utilization of oxygen, and you cannot produce energy if oxygen cannot get into the cell. So what other things do we have to think about when it comes to creating energy on a cellular level? Well, you have to create the proper cellular environment inside the cell. On the Gerson therapy, one thing Dr. Gerson figured out very quickly is absolutely no sodium in the diet. Absolutely no sodium. Why? When you eat a lot of salt, what else do you have to do? You have to drink a lot of water, right? So sodium and water, they enter the cell, they swell the cell up, and you have something called cellular edema. Cellular edema. Well, if you're a mitochondria and you're inside a cell, what do you think all that salt and water is going to do to the efficiency of your functioning? It's like a tsunami coming in and pushing you up against the building of a wall of a building. The mitochondria can't function properly if the environment inside isn't optimal. With all the sodium that we're eating today, the amount of cellular edema in people's bodies today is incredible. When they come to our clinic, our patients will lose minimum 7 to 10 pounds in a 14-day period just through the elimination of sodium and water alone. So sodium is extremely detrimental to human health. And people say, oh, well, I don't eat the bad sodium, I eat the good sodium. There's no such thing. It's one of the biggest frauds out there. When we're talking about sodium, what are we talking about? Salt, excuse me. We're talking about sodium chloride. We know that sodium chloride is 99.9%, or excuse me, salt is 99% sodium chloride, table salt. Well, people say, well, I eat Celtic salt, or I eat Himalayan salt, or rock salt. I don't know what other, all natural salts there are out there. But the problem with those salts is it's 86% sodium chloride. Your most unrefined salt, like Celtic salt, Himalayan salt, it's 86% sodium chloride. It's the sodium chloride molecule that's destructive to the human body. Why? Because the chloride molecule is destructive to the thyroid gland. When table salt came out, I don't know when it came out, 20s, 30s, 40s. When it came out, what did they discover almost immediately? People were getting goiter. They were getting destruction of the thyroid gland. So what did they do to table salt? They iodized it. Why'd they iodize it? Because it was displacing iodine from the thyroid gland. That's what chloride does. So they iodized table salt. Well, they only iodize it enough just so goiter doesn't occur. It's still destroying the thyroid gland, and guess what the thyroid gland is specifically responsible for? It's specifically responsible for replicating mitochondrial DNA. It is what produces mitochondria in your cells. So, table salt's 99.9% sodium chloride. Your most unrefined salt, Celtic salt, Himalayan salt, 86% sodium chloride. There's a reason why the Dead Sea is dead. Because sodium in excess amounts cannot support life. And so we have to eliminate sodium immediately when a patient comes to our clinic. And the energy levels, the weight drops, the energy levels increase immediately when you get all that sodium and water out of the cell. Now, something interesting also happens when you intake sodium. We're taught in medical school, chiropractic school, I'm a chiropractor. We're taught in chiropractic school and medical school that our cells inside are just this free-floating ocean of organelles like mitochondria, just swimming around, carrying out their daily activities. Well, a guy by the name of Gerald Pollack, 20 years ago maybe, from the University of Washington, he wrote a book called Cells, Gels, and the Engines of Life. And in that book, he was able to prove that our cells aren't made up that way. They're actually structured. They're actually structured like ice is structured, or like the scaffolding of a building maintains the frame of the building. Well, our cells are like that. Our cells, believe it or not, they're structured by water. When we have a proper amount of potassium within our cells, water molecules line up in very tight formations to maintain that cellular integrity. That cellular integrity inside the cells so everything can function properly, like a factory. When we eat salt, salt and potassium have an inverse relationship. If you eat salt, the body dumps potassium. If you eat potassium, the body dumps sodium. Where do you think we get potassium from? Fruits and vegetables. We are potassium animals. Our bodies are designed, our cells are designed to function on large amounts of potassium every single day and very minimal amounts of sodium. The body's obligatory loss of sodium on a daily basis is 230 milligrams. That is minute. That is about 1/4 of a teaspoon daily. And the expert who wrote the book on Celtic salt and Himalayan salt and its health benefits, if you read that, I forget his name, but he wrote this book 15, 20 years ago when the Celtic salt and Himalayan salt were the big fads. Well, when he wrote that book, he wrote a prescription as to what he deemed was healthy consumption of these salts. And you know what he wrote? He said take 1/4 teaspoon daily, dilute it in 32 ounces of water, and sip that water throughout the day. That makes perfect sense. That meets the body's obligatory loss of sodium on a daily basis, and that's all you need. Now, if you're a cancer patient or you're suffering from a degenerative disease, you don't touch it. You don't need it. You have excess sodium stored up in your cells. You don't even bother. You won't heal. But the point is, when we're eating sodium, that salt is displacing potassium from our cells, and we are absolutely destroying the internal integrity of the cells. Sodium and water rush in, cellular edema is formed, and the mitochondria cannot produce ATP, the energy molecule. So, these are the things that we need to consider. We must alkalinize the body, get rid of the hydrogen to change the charge at the level of the cell membrane so oxygen can enter the cell properly, produce energy with the processing of natural sugars from fruits and vegetables. This whole theory out there that sugars feed cancer, so you even got natural practitioners out there telling you, don't eat fruits and vegetables, they're gonna feed your cancer. Nothing could be further from the truth. If sugars fed cancer, the Gerson therapy, the most renowned therapy in the history of medicine for reversing advanced disease, would not have been able to cure one case of cancer because you're getting 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day in the form of fruits and vegetables. 20 pounds of organic fruits and vegetables every single day. Those sugars, those nutrients are exactly what the mitochondria need to produce energy, but only in the presence of oxygen. What happens if oxygen isn't present and you're highly acidic? Well, when you eat all these sugars in all your processed foods, your cookies, cakes, ice creams, your pasta, your bagels, all of these sugars that don't come with the nutrients, but most importantly, you can't get oxygen into the cells if you're acidic. What happens with sugars that you need to break down in that situation? Well, when oxygen isn't present, that sugar molecule, rather than going through the Krebs cycle and going through what's called aerobic glycolysis, oxygen, with oxygen, aerobic means with oxygen present. If oxygen isn't inside the cell in proper quantities, then it's going to go into something called anaerobic glycolysis. And the final production of anaerobic glycolysis is lactic acid. And lactic acid feeds cancer. It is one of the primary causes of cancer. So, how do you address these issues? The sodium, the acidity. How are we doing it? Well, first and foremost, there's only one way to get rid of the acidity, and that's fruits and vegetables. There is no other way, and let me explain. When you eat a fruit or a vegetable or you drink a fresh pressed juice, that gets broken down into something called potassium hydroxide. If you write hydroxide chemically, the chemical description is OH negative. So picture this. Hydroxide is OH negative. What's hydrogen? Remember that acidic hydrogen molecule causing disease. That hydrogen is H positive. So when you drink a juice, fresh pressed, or you're eating raw fruits and vegetables, preferably organic, that hydroxyl molecule that's being produced when it's taken into the body reacts with those positively charged hydrogen ions, and guess what's created? OH negative, H positive. Two H's and an O. H2O, water, neutral. So you've now taken these positively charged hydrogen molecules and you've completely neutralized them, alkalinizing the body, and something miraculous happens. The oxygenation of the cells and tissues goes through the roof. And that is how the Gerson therapy starts its foundation of reversing advanced disease. By alkalinizing the system, we are now allowing the body to properly oxygenate tissues. Sugar can enter the cells, go through the energy cycle, because all those nutrients that the energy cycle needs to run sugar through it are right there in the organic fruits and vegetables. So our patients are getting 20 pounds of organic fruits and vegetables every single day. And if you're thinking about going to a clinic somewhere, you better make sure that that clinic is offering that kind of nutrition. Because if it isn't, their chances of reversing advanced disease are between slim and none. And there's a lot of natural clinics out there, folks. There's a lot of natural clinics out there. They're giving IV vitamin C, IV chelation, Laetrile. They're giving all these things. They're giving hyperbaric oxygen, and they're giving, they're giving hyperthermia, which is great. We do all those things. They're absolutely vital. But if they're not done in conjunction with this massive amounts of nutrition and detoxification, the chances of getting long-term successful cures are between slim and none. So, that's the first thing we do, is we alkalinize the system with these organic fruits and vegetables. And if it's not organic, 99% of the time our patients will not survive. Because conventional produce today, it's grown with three things: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That's it. Scientists have figured out that you can build beautiful fruits and vegetables using those three things. But there's 59 other vitamins and minerals that the human immune system needs to maintain a healthy immune system and to cure a sick and dying one, and it's not in organic produce. The other thing that conventional produce, before they send conventional produce to market, they irradiate it. They radiate it because if you can radiate something, you can kill off the enzyme activity. If you can kill off the enzyme activity, you can store it on shelves for longer. Well, the problem is when they kill the enzyme activity, those enzymes literally destroy cancer and break down tumor tissue. So our patients are getting those fresh pressed juices every hour on the hour and getting massive amounts of enzymes as well, supplementally, to break down tumor tissue. Conventional produce doesn't have it. So, the only way you can reverse acidity is by juicing and getting those hydroxyl molecules to react with the positively charged hydrogen ions. Now, here's a little caveat. You have natural practitioners out there. They understand this acidity-alkalinity link. So, they have you take a blood test. They have you take a urine test, and they'll show you, look, it's acidic. So what do? They give you an alkalinizing agent. Potassium bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate, potassium citrate, sodium citrate. These are alkalinizing agents. So they give these to you orally to try to make you more alkaline. Doesn't work. When they give that to you, they'll have you come back 2 weeks later, they'll do the blood again, they'll do the urine again, and guess what? Miraculously, you're alkaline in the urine and the blood. But it's done nothing, absolutely nothing, to get into the cell and neutralize positively charged hydrogen ions, because potassium bicarbonate can't do that, which is written chemically KCO3, or sodium bicarbonate, which is NaCO3, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on those. But those molecules can't neutralize a positively charged hydrogen ion. Only the OH negative hydroxyl molecule from fruits and vegetables can neutralize the hydrogen ion, creates water, a neutral agent, reestablishes the electrical charge at the level of the cell membrane. That's the only way to do it. The problem with giving these artificially alkalinizing agents, when a body's acidic, it's putting tremendous amounts of pressure on the kidneys. When you give it an alkalinizing agent, now the kidney's got to deal with that. It's got to get rid of it. It can't do anything with it. So you're doubling the problem at the level of the kidneys. Not only now do they have to eliminate the acidity, they now have to eliminate the alkalinizing agent that you're giving it. Naturopaths, a lot of them, they don't know what they're doing. They're doing that all the time to patients. So you got to be careful. The only way to alkalinize, fruits and vegetables. So that's how we're doing that on the Gerson therapy. What else are we doing to increase the production of energy on a cellular level? Our patients are getting essential fatty acids, mostly in the form of flax oil. Flax oil has a special double bond structure that literally draws oxygen into the cell. So as we're giving flax oil, as we're neutralizing the hydrogen at the level of the cell membrane, and as we give the flax oil to reestablish that electrical charge at the level of the cell membrane, oxygen can enter the cell, sugar can go through the energy cycle, because all the nutrients are there in the organic nutrition, and massive amounts of energy are created. So juicing, flax oil, no salt, no salt. And then the other thing, we're bombarding the body with potassium. Not only are we bombarding the body with potassium with the raw fruits and vegetables, but we're also bombarding the body with a special potassium compound powder that Dr. Max Gerson came up with after 300 different experiments. And when you give that potassium, what happens? What did I say at the beginning of this? Sodium and potassium have an inverse relationship. You take in potassium, the body dumps that sodium and water that's stored up in the cell. It makes a greater capacity of the internal environment for the mitochondria. But more importantly, remember that when you establish the potassium levels inside the cell again, the cell restructures itself to a greater integrity so that the efficiency of everything going on in that cell is working much better. So we give massive amounts of potassium. On the Gerson therapy, which you have to do for 2 years if you have an advanced cancer, absolutely no meat, absolutely no saturated fats. 0. No saturated fats whatsoever for those 2 years, for the reason we expressed earlier. Saturated fats are saturated with what? Hydrogen. Simple. Hydrogen. pH, potential hydrogen. Acidity is the buildup of hydrogen. Absolutely no meat, no dairy, other than non-fat organic yogurt 6 weeks into the program. That's it. Non-fat. If they do low fat, if they do whole milk yogurt, they will not survive. We see it constantly. So absolutely no saturated fats, but particularly no meats, no cheese, no butter. No meat, high in saturated fats. And it generates a lot of acidity as well. And something very interesting, when you eat meat, you generate so much acidity that the kidneys, they have to dump that acidity. Well, during the day, what your kidneys really want to do, they preferentially want to dump excess sodium. That's what they really want to do throughout the day. And if you're eating a diet high in meat or on a highly acidic diet, now the kidneys, they have to dump that acidity because it's more vital to survival than actually dumping sodium. So guess what happens when you're eating those things? And now you have to dump that acidity. The kidneys will start to dump acidity, and they will, in exchange, uptake sodium. The kidneys will not release sodium if you're eating those acidic foods, particularly meat and dairy. They won't dump sodium. Sodium will be reuptaken into the cell, into the body, and thus into the cells, where again we have the problem of cellular edema. So these are some of the very basic principles on why the Gerson therapy historically is the most powerful therapy in the world for the treatment of advanced disease. So with that, I suppose we can start to take some questions. And before we get started, with everything that you've just heard, I want you to think about something that's going around now as a fad for treating cancer. And let me tell you, folks, it's just a fad. You just had a major personality within the alternative therapy realm write a big book on how to cure yourself of cancer using the ketogenic diet. What's the ketogenic diet? It's trying to cure cancer with fat. Fat. So based on everything that I've just explained, I want you to think about the implications of that diet as it relates to curing human disease or cancer. Within the next 3, 4, 5 years, we will undoubtedly find that the ketogenic diet's ability to create long-lasting cures beyond 5 years, again, will be between slim and none. In the beginning, it will starve the tumor, but as time goes on, it's going to break down the body's ability to create energy on a cellular level. And that's what happened with the Atkins diet. The Atkins diet was ultimately a ketogenic diet. And what people were finding is that they lost weight in the beginning. But as time went on, it became highly destructive to the organic systems. So just, you heard it here. Within the next 4 to 5 years, you will see that the ketogenic diet simply will not produce long-lasting results as it relates to reversing advanced terminal cancer. It's that simple. So, I hope you found this informative. Let's start taking some questions from all you out there. So just go ahead and shoot away. What do we got?
Here, Dr. Vickers, here's your juice.
Thank you very much. That was Halka, my friend's daughter. My friend's here I'm staying with in Washington, D.C. from Poland. She brought me my carrot juice. One of the primary juices on the Gerson therapy. So, let's read some of these questions here. Oh, hi, Edwin. How are you? Blanca. Hello, Blanca. Blanca and Edwin are both patients of ours from that came to our clinic. Both doing great. Blanca had breast cancer. Edwin had lung cancer. Both are going to be cured. Well, they probably already are. They've been on therapy for a year. But they have to continue for another year. Tumors go away very quickly, typically within 9 to 12 months. But if you stop the therapy after 9 to 12 months, cancer's coming back. So the therapy must be carried out for 2 years. Okay, here we go. What are some questions? Can you, Magic? I need to see some of these questions here. Can you help me get some of these? There's questions popping up here, but they're not popping up here.
Yeah, they will.
But they're not. Oh, there we go. Okay. Are there any new supplements? Actually, we have added some things based on what's coming out in the scientific literature. We've added probiotics, which really aren't standard on the Gerson therapy, but because 70% of your immune system clearly is in the gut, we have added probiotics in large amounts to the therapy. We've also added fresh organic aloe vera, which is harvested in the Dominican Republic organically from the genus of aloe that's supposed to be the most healing of all the types of aloe that there is. Hi, Becky. So we've added fresh pressed aloe. So it's harvested in the Dominican Republic, sent to us frozen within 2 days of harvest, and then we put it in each of our juices. There's not a more potent healer of the digestive tract, which is 70% of your immune system. So we've added that. We've added turmeric. The studies are clear on what turmeric is doing in terms of helping the body fight cancer. So those are things that we've added. Let me think more about it as we go along, and then we'll go from there. So, let's see. Do you know if I can scoop aloe from my own plant and blend in a smoothie? That's a great question. You have to do it properly. We get our aloe from Stockton Aloe, www.aloe1.com. If you go to their YouTube channel, and give them a call, but that's who we get our aloe from. And I will say, if you are going to order aloe from them, please tell them you're my patient, and we actually get a little bit of a kickback from the aloe company. Not much, but just tell them you're my patient. But anyway, Dr. Mike Haley is the owner of Stockton Aloe, and he's produced a video where he shows you how to properly extract aloe from an aloe plant. Because if you don't do it correctly, it can actually have the opposite effect of what you want, because a certain part of the plant causes you to go to the bathroom too much. You don't want that. It causes an overactive intestinal flow. Whereas the proper way of doing it has the medicinal soothing properties to the digestive tract. So call them up, find out where you can watch that video where he shows you how to properly do it. But yes, you can get it from your own plant. That would be tedious if the way we're doing it, or if you're doing it on a cancer therapy, because that would just take too long. So we order it as we order it, and it goes right into our patients' juices. But again, please, if you call them up to order it, just tell them you're my patient. Thank you. So let's see if there's any other questions here. Any more questions out there? Does this go up and down here? Any more questions? There's a lot of people out there. No questions? How much do you take? How much aloe would you take? We're putting an ounce of aloe in each of our patients' juices. So in each 8-ounce juice, which is 13 a day, they're getting 1 ounce of fresh aloe vera. Recipes. Someone's asking about recipes. If you go to our Facebook page, Northern Baja Gerson Center, every Friday we're showing you a recipe of a meal that's actually been produced at the clinic that week. So every Friday, Northern Baja Gerson Center on Facebook, and we're doing that every Friday. We're showing you an incredible recipe by our amazing cook, Laura. So someone asked about coconut oil. All right, coconut oil. Coconut oil is a saturated fat. If you are a cancer patient, you do not want to use coconut oil. Plain and simple. Now people say, well, can you use coconut oil to cook? Because apparently it has a higher temperature threshold. No, you can't. Anytime you cook with an oil, you denaturize that oil. When it enters the body, it wreaks havoc on the body, especially a woman's body, because a woman's body is much more hormonal than a man. And I have seen people who cook with oils, it's incredible the hormonal problems that they can have. But anyway, getting back to coconut oil is a saturated fat. Now, granted, I think it's a medium chain fatty acid, so the body's ability to break that down and use it to create energy is greater than a lot of the other oils like olive oil or sesame oil or peanut oil, which are long chain fatty acids, so the body requires more to break them down. But the fact remains is that coconut oil is a saturated fat. So if you're a cancer patient or a disease patient, it is not an efficient oil to get well with. Now, if you're healthy and you want to take a teaspoon or two a day of coconut oil, I guess I don't see much of a problem with that. I personally don't do it. So, next question. Dr. Vickers, best remedy for high blood pressure? Gerson therapy, 2 to 3 weeks, you're off your blood pressure medications. Across the board. Diabetes, typically 6 to 8 weeks, you're usually off your meds or virtually off your meds. Let's see if there's any more. Do you treat patients with issues other than cancer? In the beginning of this event, I said the Gerson therapy is reversing virtually every single degenerative disease, hands down. Really, the only things that we have trouble reversing are Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's, and your blood cancers. Multiple myeloma, acute leukemia. Chronic leukemia, we don't seem to have a problem with. Chronic leukemia seems to respond well. But all your other diseases, diabetes, heart disease, your autoimmune diseases, those respond famously to the Gerson therapy. The problem is, the Gerson therapy has become synonymous with cancer because 5 or 6 movies have been done on our work that all revolve around cancer. The Truth About Cancer, which I'm in, you can see The Truth About Cancer. I'm in episodes 1 and 8. What's it about? Cancer. But all these other diseases, they respond famously to the Gerson therapy. Nobel Peace Prize winner Dr. Albert Schweitzer, who called Dr. Gerson one of the greatest geniuses in medical history. 8 years before he won the Nobel Prize, he was cured of severely advanced diabetes by Dr. Gerson in 8 weeks. 8 weeks, severely advanced diabetes. All right, next question. If I started conventional hormone therapy from my oncologist, would that make me ineligible to be a Gerson patient? Absolutely not. You have to come off the hormone therapy because that's actually going to cause your cancer to grow in the end much faster than it normally would in the end. So, you'll have to come off of that hormone therapy. And then the body is going to readjust your hormones completely back to normal. Typically, and now your name's Michelle, so you're a woman, obviously. So I don't know if it's breast cancer, ovarian cancer. I don't know what you're dealing with. But typically, breast cancer can be related to being estrogen dominant. Well, estrogen dominant is dealt with by detoxing estrogen from the liver, by the liver. And so the Gerson therapy does that, and that's why breast cancer patients can successfully be cured on the Gerson therapy. So, next question. Do you recommend taking AMLA powder? Not sure what AMLA represents. So, next question. I missed your first 40 minutes, so I hope you already explained what happens when one eats a ketogenic diet for, let's say, 8 years. What happens at the cellular level? I already explained all that, ma'am. So you can view this on Facebook tomorrow or tonight once we're all finished here, and that will happen. Will you allow a patient to come to the clinic without a partner, a non-cancer patient? Absolutely. If that patient is able to get around, move around, eat and drink without a problem, doesn't need any kind of assistance, absolutely we can take that patient. Not a problem. How much does 20 pounds of organic fruits and vegetables a day, how much does 20 pounds of organic fruits and veggies a day approximately? Does that must mean how much does it cost? I have no idea. I'm really not sure how much that would cost. But I can tell you, once you leave our clinic and go home, you can figure on doing the Gerson therapy on a monthly basis for the first 9 to 12 months, it's going to be around $2,500 a month. If you're one of my cancer patients and you're listening right now, maybe you can chime in and tell me what are your costs on a monthly basis to do this therapy. Diabetes type 1, able to cure with Gerson. Thank you. Good question. There's two types of type 1 diabetes. Two types of type 1. There's a type 1 where the body has no ability to produce insulin. Then there's a type 1 where the body's actually producing insulin, but there's insulin resistance at the level of the cell. How do you determine the two? There's something called a C-peptide test. So if you have type 1 diabetes, you want to go get a C-peptide test. If you have type 1 that's producing insulin, absolutely, we can reverse that. If you don't have a pancreas that's producing insulin, we can put you on, you have to stay on the Gerson therapy the rest of your life, and we can completely deal with that problem without insulin usually. And you can live a long, healthy life, whereas a lot of diabetics who have to inject insulin, they don't have as long of a lifespan as somebody, who doesn't have diabetes. But if you stayed on the Gerson therapy, the principles of the Gerson therapy for the remainder of your life, you can live a very long, healthy, productive life with a type 1 diabetic that doesn't produce insulin. So absolutely. Becky, I spend about $100, $120 a week for organic fruits and vegetables. That seems really low. I would say that it would have to be somewhere up in the realm of $400 to $400 a week if you're doing the full 20 pounds of organic fruits and vegetables every single day. Anyway, thoughts on alkaline water? Well, I own a Kangen machine, a Kangen water machine. So Kangen water, what does it produce? Hydroxyl molecules. Remember we were talking about the hydroxyl molecules produced by this carrot juice? Potassium hydroxide. Well, Kangen water produces massive amounts of hydroxyl molecules. That's why it can alkalinize the system. But what's the problem with that? It's a lot different than this. Kangen water doesn't have enzymes and it doesn't have nutrients. But if you want to alkalinize the system, then that's fine. Kangen water can alkalinize the system, but you've got to get nutrients and you've got to get enzymes, and that's only through food. Coconut oil on the skin, apple cider vinegar baths, Epsom salt baths, baking soda baths. Baking soda, what is it? Sodium bicarbonate. What did I say about the alkalinizing agents that naturopaths are giving people? What did I say about sodium? Take that back down, please. Hold on one second, please.
I can't do it here.
You can't bring it back?
No, not here.
Because I'm trying to... Okay, so anyway, Epsom salts, absolutely not. Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate. Anytime you supplement with an individual mineral, you're always going to have an inverse relationship with another mineral. So I don't know what magnesium's inverse relationship is. Maybe it might be zinc. So if you take a lot of magnesium, you might lose zinc. Or if you take a lot of zinc, you might lose magnesium. Epsom salts are great if you want to relax, but the problem is that's going straight into your bloodstream. Our patients cannot do Epsom salt baths. No way. How about blue-green algae? Well, if you're talking about what? Spirulina? I think chlorella is blue-green algae. Those things can be compatible with the Gerson therapy. We don't use them anymore. We used to use spirulina, but we've just moved in a different direction using aloe, turmeric. We don't use the blue-green algae. However, there are many studies now, I believe, on far infrared technology and chlorophyll. Blue-green algae is loaded with chlorophyll. There's studies that show that when you give chlorophyll, like blue-green algae, the cells of the cancer suck up that chlorophyll. And if you give far infrared light or near infrared light technology, that near infrared light is drawn into the cancer cell because of the chlorophyll, and it kills the cancer cell better than chemotherapy. That's the science that's coming out. We actually utilize far infrared technology at our clinic for that purpose alone.
That's an old question here. What's the bad and good veggies and fruits?
Bad and good vegetables and fruits for the Gerson treatment. Good question. There are forbidden foods on the Gerson therapy which you would think are extremely healthy for the body. Gerson was an empirical genius. He tried everything. He tried food. He tried everything. And he watched and saw how the body reacted. When the patients ate these foods, how their bodies reacted. And he came up with a forbidden foods list. Here's an example of a few. Pineapples, strawberries, no nuts and seeds, no avocados, no mushrooms. Why no avocados? Too high in fat, saturated fat. And he found that when his patients ate a lot of avocados, big problem. No pineapples and strawberries, no cinnamon, no basil, no oregano. Why? Those were high in aromatic acids. Patients who are sick and dying, their digestive tracts are sick and dying, particularly their livers. And when you give things high in aromatic acids, it's very volatile on a sick and dying liver. So we eliminated those things. Nuts and seeds, why? Again, the digestive tract is sick. Nuts and seeds are very hard to digest. Not only that, they're high in saturated fats. Gerson eliminated them. Mushrooms. No mushrooms on the Gerson therapy. Why? Because a mushroom is a fungus. How do fungi biologically survive? Through anaerobic activity, through anaerobic metabolism. A metabolism where no oxygen is required. So what did we say about cancer needing oxygenated environments to survive? Well, mushrooms are a fungi. And so Gerson eliminated mushrooms very early on in the therapy. Can I use my infrared sauna? It depends on what you have. You know, Gerson was adamantly against saunas because they burn up a lot of energy. If Gerson were alive today and you went to his Gerson clinic, you wouldn't get out of bed for the first 6 to 8 weeks. Only to get your meals would he let you get out of bed. Why? Because we're creating massive amounts of energy on a cellular level. If you're wasting that energy on a sauna, on exercising, what's going to happen? You're going to burn up that energy, and that energy is not going to go towards healing. I can't tell you how many times we've seen people who refuse to relax. They want to go exercise, they want to do saunas, they want to do this, they want to do that, and they will not heal. We see it all the time. Food, yeah, frankincense oil or essential oils, absolutely. Frankincense, we use at the clinic. The studies coming out on that are very clear. Particularly, it's good in brain cancers. So, food grade hydrogen peroxide. Food grade hydrogen peroxide. We use it. We put a few drops maybe in the enemas. We put it in our hyperthermia, in our jacuzzi. We put that two cups in a jacuzzi as we're doing hyperthermia. We encourage people to use it going home. We encourage people to put a cup or two in a hot scalding bath to heat up their body and to oxygenate tissue. So food grade hydrogen peroxide, absolutely. Any other questions there? How do you cook coffee for an enema? Well, we make a concentrate. We make a concentrate. Now, we didn't talk about coffee enemas. That's something we're going to talk about later. In another upcoming Facebook event, we're going to go through the supplement protocol of the Gerson therapy, and it's just going to confirm more and reiterate, the principles of what we're talking about now. But we'll go into the enema at a later date, and we can talk about that then. Okay, folks, well, it is 10 o'clock. It's been 1 hour. I hope you found this event enjoyable, informative. Again, I'm Dr. Patrick Vickers. I'm the founder of Northern Baja Gerson Center in Rosarito, Mexico. Our website is www.gersontreatment.com. And our phone number is 715-299-5070. And if you write us by email, simple. You can reach me at patrick@gersontreatment.com or info@gersontreatment.com. Again, if you missed this event, hold on one second. Now they're just coming in like crazy. Okay, maybe we'll just hang out here. I saw one. Hold on. What was one of those? Okay, one was fibromyalgia. Anyway, hold on. I was giving you our website. I gave you our website. I gave you our phone number. Our email's info@gersontreatment.com. Anyway, how is the Gerson therapy at treating fibromyalgia? Simple. So simple. First patient I ever treated with the Gerson therapy, they came into the clinic. Their pain was on a scale of 1 to 10, it was an 11. Within 3 days, it was down to 8. Within a week, it was down to 6. Within 3 weeks, he was down to a 4, and he was going back to work for the first time in 6 years. So, Gerson therapy is great with fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is just a term they've put on something which really means we don't know what it is. So they just put a name on it called fibromyalgia. It's toxicity. That's ultimately what it comes down to. You're so toxic, you need to be detoxified. The Gerson therapy is famous for that. So, fibromyalgia, easy. How's the pancreatic cancer? How is the Gerson therapy with pancreatic cancer? Go to our website, www.gersontreatment.com. You can see an interview that someone did of me. Her name is Felicity Corbin Wheeler. We did an interview on her show that she has in Europe on Revelation TV. She was one of the worst pancreatic cancer patients that had ever come through a Gerson clinic. She's alive and well today. If you watch the Gerson Miracle, you'll see another advance. The movie, there's a movie out there called The Gerson Miracle. If you watch that movie, there's an advanced cancer patient in there, pancreatic cancer patient, alive and well today. Where can I get your potassium? A lot of places you can get the potassium, but here's the problem. I don't want you taking the potassium if you don't know what you're doing. So maybe we'll talk about that in the next Facebook Live event, because you just can't supplement with potassium. You got to be careful. So we're not going to go into that now. Maybe the next time when we're talking about the supplements. You speak about the success cases, but I'd love to hear about the cases that didn't work well on the Gerson therapy. I already did. Look, we don't cure everybody. Everybody's different when they come to us. Their general condition, their age. So many factors go into whether or not we're going to successfully treat someone. We can't cure everybody. If you lined up 100 people with advanced cancer, let's say a year or less to live, you're looking at probably 30-40% of those cases will be completely reversed. In fact, to use as a classic example, we're the only ones in medical history to have a peer-reviewed study proving the ability to reverse terminal cancer. There is no other study of its kind in the medical literature. It's called the Gerson melanoma study. The Gerson melanoma study, melanoma is the deadliest cancer you can have, the most aggressive, deadliest cancer you can have. In that study, we were able to show in stage 1 melanoma, 100%. 100% cure rate. Stage 2, 75%. Stage 3, terminal melanoma, 40%. So those are pretty much the numbers. Okay? Some people live a lot longer. The ones that maybe don't survive, the 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Maybe we carry out their lives for an extra 2, 3, 4 years when they would have died 6 months earlier or six months later. So, everybody's different. So no, we don't cure or successfully treat everyone. It's not possible. And anybody who's out there claiming 75, 80% cure rates, they're lying through their teeth. We have the most powerful therapy in the history of medicine, and those are the numbers. Let's see what we got here. That being said, 3 weeks in the program helped me so much. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm telling you, folks, there are so many people out there that have healed from all these different conditions. And whether it's cancer, diabetes, heart disease, if you're scheduled for a triple or quadruple bypass surgery, within 4 weeks, we're canceling your surgery. It's that simple. It's simple stuff. All right. Starting my juice fast tomorrow. Good for you. Oh, I've got multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma. It's one of the harder things to treat on the Gerson therapy. Now, I've seen people do the therapy with multiple myeloma, and they were able to, maintain traction for long, long periods of time, like years. But it's not something we've been able to completely reverse. So, how many people can the clinic hold? Hold on to that thought. How many people can the clinic hold? But anyway, so multiple myeloma. Now, we're doing advanced protocols at the Gerson clinic, at our Gerson clinic. So, we really haven't treated people with multiple myeloma because essentially, up until the last 6 months, I've turned all multiple myeloma patients away. And I've told them, I said, look, historically, we don't do well with multiple myeloma. It's a blood cancer. But I've also given them that option that, look, we're doing advanced protocols at the clinic, and we would love to treat people with multiple myeloma and see what we can do with these advanced protocols. But, it's only been a few people with multiple myeloma that have come to us, and they just elected not to do it. So if you have multiple myeloma, we can extend life for long periods of time and keep you maintaining traction. But up to this point, we haven't been able to completely reverse it. I'd like to see it with the advanced protocols. How many patients can the clinic hold? Our clinic has 10 rooms. We have 10 rooms. We are on the top floor of a luxury condominium complex on the water, one of the best facilities in the world, right on the ocean. Whales going by right now. It's whale season, so you'll see literally 30, 40, 50 whales go by daily, right in front of your window. It is one of the most stunning places that there is when you're dealing with a clinic like this. Can a person that has just had a quadruple bypass come and see you? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, like I said, that can get you back on the road to health. Because what's going to happen? Okay, you've had your quadruple bypass surgery. Now what? If you maintain the same diet you've maintained, guess what's going to happen? The other arteries are going to get clogged. So by doing the Gerson therapy, we'll completely clear out the arterial system, and you won't have anything to worry about in the future. How are you accepted for treatment? Simple. You call us up or you email us. You got the information on this video. You call us up, and we ask for your medical records. We'll talk to you a little bit, see what's going on, see if you're somebody who's compatible to doing the Gerson therapy. And then all we require is a deposit to hold a reservation. And then once that's made, you choose the dates that you'd like to come. We see if there's availability. And typically, we can get somebody in every 7 to 10 days. We've got people constantly coming and going every 7 to 10 days, so that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, Lisa was here. Lisa, you were here with your mother. You said, yes, it's gorgeous. I stayed there with my mother back in September. Yes, the facility is absolutely stunning. What if I don't have any medical records? Well, if you've had quadruple bypass surgery, you've got medical records. So we need the medical records. That looks like it's it, folks. It's 10 minutes after 10. Looks like we had a lot of interest, a lot of people chiming in here. Folks, you can watch this now for the next month on our Facebook page, Northern Baja Gerson Center. Tune in always to our Facebook page. We're posting patient testimonials. We're posting recipes. You can see these Facebook Live events. So, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, hopefully in about 3 to 4 weeks.